Rockstar Games, one of the most legendary gaming studios of all time, giving us banger after banger from the late 90s all through the 2000s and even into the early 2010s. Despite their almost non-existence these past couple years outside of GTA Online, I think their reputation still precedes itself. And with GTA 6 on the horizon, maybe, we don't know for sure, it seems that Rockstar Games will once again reclaim their throne. On top of Rockstar giving us some of my favorite video games of all time, Rockstar has also given me some of my favorite video game characters of all time. So today, let's count them down. These are my top 10 Rockstar Games protagonists. So sit back, lock in, and let's run through Rockstar's catalog. Let's kick this list off with my boy James Earl Cash from the legendary game Manhunt. Manhunt is one of Rockstar's standout games in my opinion. At the time of its release, we had games that were literally centered around destruction and chaos, but with Manhunt, they took the chaos to a whole new level. I mean, we're talking about a game that was basically a snuff film simulator, and we haven't had a game like that since. Cash was basically an anti-hero, but let's be real, he really wasn't a good guy. He just so happened to be a little less evil than the people that he was sent to hunt down. Not to mention, his name was a play on James Earl Ray, who was known as the man who assassinated MLK, even though we know the government actually did that shit. And very similar to Torque from The Suffering, Cash's racial identity was very ambiguous, making him relatable to anyone playing the game. Manhunt is a true classic, and my boy James Earl Cash was the perfect main character for such a game. At number 9, I got Cole Phelps from LA Noire. Now, while LA Noire wasn't developed by Rockstar, it was developed by Team Bondi and published by Rockstar, but most people still recognize it as a Rockstar game, so let's just stick with that. Cole Phelps, in my opinion, is the most unique protagonist in a Rockstar game. Most of, if not all of Rockstar's main characters really are not good people. Like, you typically play as a criminal or somebody crooked, so to play as a cop, a damn good cop at that, was quite the tone shift. We saw Cole get promoted to various departments and even attempted to dismantle the corruption that he witnessed in the department. It's just crazy how, as corrupt as some of the officers were in that game, Cole was treated like a damn terrorist because his affair was publicized. Like, he wasn't doing nothing sneaky, nothing corrupt, all he did was cheat on his wife. Not saying that cheating on your wife is okay, but come on dog, it's way worse stuff out there. I guess people really just took that kind of stuff serious in the 40s. Overall, Cole Phelps was a solid main character with the highest morality code of any Rockstar character. At the number 8 spot, I got Jimmy Hopkins. Bully, the goated game that you are. Such a shame that we never got that sequel. That was literally in development and was probably already finished but never got released. Jimmy was also another unique Rockstar character, as all of the other ones were adults. Jimmy was a 15-year-old delinquent, which at the time of the game's release in 2006 made him the most relatable character in the Rockstar roster, because I too was a 15-year-old degenerate in 2006. But as bad of a kid as Jimmy was, and admittedly he was kind of a dick, he was actually a pretty decent individual. One quote of his from early on in the game was, "I only give people what they have coming to them," meaning he never purposely sought conflict with people, but if you fuck with him, he'll most definitely fuck with you right back. Jimmy even went as far as to defend the weaker kids from actual bullies. And as crazy as it sounds, he actually had the respect from a lot of his teachers, as long as they respected him. I really wish we got to see what happened to Jimmy after his time at Bulworth, but hey, I guess we'll never know. So, thanks a lot, Rockstar. At the number 7 spot, I got Franklin Clinton from Grand Theft Auto 5. See, my boy Frank, easily one of the most underused protagonists in a Rockstar game. But despite how underused he was easily one of the most important characters in GTA 5. He often provided a solid balance between Michael and Trevor's constant bickering. He was the voice of reason for his homeboy Lamar. Honestly, Franklin really wasn't a bad guy. He was just a dude from the hood who got tired of being broke, wanted some money so he could move out the hood. That seems pretty reasonable to me. I mean, the quote-unquote worst thing he did in the game was those assassination missions. But if I'm not mistaken, all the people who he assassinated in the game were pretty shitty people, so I guess it wasn't that bad. I don't know. Franklin reminded me a lot of CJ from San Andreas, which is ironic because the real life actors of both CJ and Franklin are actually cousins. And in the game, Franklin is a part of the same gang as CJ. So does that mean that San Andreas is canon to GTA 5? Overall, Franklin was the most realistic and grounded character in GTA 5, and I wish he had more major missions in the game. I mean, granted, they did kind of give him an extended story in GTA Online, but if you wasn't really on that online, he kind of would have never experienced it. Well, I guess that brings us to number 6 on the list, and since we're in the GTA universe discussing Franklin, let's move on to my boy CJ from San Andreas. See, I don't think it's really a stretch to say that GTA San Andreas, other than GTA 5, is the most iconic entry in the franchise. For a lot of people, this was their introduction to the franchise, so there's a huge nostalgia factor involved. CJ was the first and, so far, the only true main black character in a GTA game, because to be honest, even though Franklin was a main character, once Trevor got introduced, he kind of took a major backseat to him and Michael's story. San Andreas gave people a chance to gangbang without actually claiming to set in real life. It was like if Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society was a video game. And not to mention, the soundtrack of San Andreas is still the best GTA soundtrack of all time. And it was fun as hell riding around Los Santos in a lowrider with CJ with Dr. Dre playing in the background. CJ overall, man, was just a cool ass character in a cool ass setting with some cool ass side characters. Now, as we enter the top 5, I just want to say I appreciate all of y'all for rocking with me and enjoying my channel. Please drop a like and a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Sorry for that shameless plug. Let's get right back into the video. But at number 5, I got my boy John Marston from Red Dead Redemption 1. Now, while John may not be Rockstar's first cowboy, that title goes to Red Harlow from Red Dead Revolver, a game that they seriously need to remake in my opinion. John became the most popular cowboy in all of gaming during his era. Bad man with good intentions. See, essentially, John was just a family man who wanted to take care of his son Jack and his oftentimes ungrateful ass wife Abigail. Red Dead 1 at its core was more than just a story of redemption. It was really a tale of how corrupt the government can be. Because at the end of the day, John was literally extorted by the government, used as a tool to accomplish what they couldn't, and once the job was done, he had to go. Some call it karma, I'll call it what it is. The government just doing what they still do to this day. And after playing as John again in the Red Dead 2 epilogue, it added a new layer to the character that made me like him a lot more. At number 4, let's go back to the GTA universe. I got my boy Niko Bellic from GTA 4. Now, despite GTA 5 and San Andreas being the most popular games in the series, let's keep it a $120 here, people. GTA 4 is easily the best game in the whole series. And Niko Bellic is the most unique GTA protagonist of all time. See, most main GTA characters all fit the same description. They're mostly all criminals whose sole purpose is just to be a better criminal. Nobody actually cares about being a good person in the GTA universe. But see, Niko, on the other hand, he wasn't really a criminal, and quite frankly, he had no real intentions of becoming one. He was a war vet who moved to the States in search of a better life. The first thing he did when he got to the States was got a legit job. His job was legal, driving cabs for his incompetent ass cousin Roman. However, in his attempt to create a better life for himself, he unfortunately got wrapped up in the criminal underground. And no matter how deep in the streets he got, he still wanted justice and to eventually get out. I truly believe that Niko Bellic is the best written GTA protagonist and one of Rockstar's best developed characters. Entering the big 3, man, I got my boy Max Payne, the most troubled man in Rockstar history. See, the first Max Payne game was so good that another studio basically copied his whole formula and made Dead to Rights, a game that I actually played before I had a chance to play Max Payne, and initially liked it a whole lot more than Max Payne. But at the time of its release, it was $50 brand new, and Max Payne was on sale for like $20 in 2002. So naturally, my parents opted for the cheaper option because essentially it was, in the words that my dad put it, just like Dead to Rights. Then I realized that it was actually not at all. It was actually the other way around. Dead to Rights was like Max Payne, but a much more comical and animated version of Max Payne. Max Payne was a phenomenal game. So phenomenal that I think it was way ahead of its time. See, Max was a cop like Cole Phelps from LA Noire, but his story was much deeper. From battling a drug syndicate, dealing with the murder of his wife and child, and being framed for the murder of his partner, all while battling an apparent drug addiction to pain pills. Not to mention, Max Payne had bullet time, which is still one of the coolest features in a video game. I will be glad when Remedy finally gives us an update on this supposed Max Payne 1 and 2 remake. Apparently they're combining both the stories of those games into one full-length game, which I think is a great idea because Max Payne 2 was way too short to be remade into a solo game again. And Max Payne 3, while being a complete tone shift from the first 2 games, just push Max Payne's character even further. Typically, I want my favorite characters to make a comeback with new games, but honestly, I think the Max Payne trilogy was the perfect send-off for my boy. Well, here we are at number 2, man. I guess it's time to take it back to GTA, but this time, let's take a trip to Vice City and honor my boy Tommy Vercetti. First things first, rest in peace to Ray Liotta. Without him, there would be no Tommy. Not to mention, Tommy was the first protagonist in GTA with the voice actor, making him a pioneer of the franchise. I think it's very important to mention that Tommy Vercetti was inspired by one of the greatest fictional characters, Mr. Tony Montana. Not just that, but the game Vice City itself was heavily inspired by Scarface, even having a replica of the iconic mansion from the movie. See, man, Tommy was just cool as hell and unintentionally hilarious.
Dumb, Florida moron.
So Vice City was my first GTA game, so it's a huge nostalgia factor that comes with it, hence why Tommy is so high on this list. Hell, I even got the Tommy Vercetti palm tree shirt that I most definitely plan on wearing my next time in Miami. Some people speculate that Tommy might make an appearance in GTA 6. I doubt we see Tommy in the game, but if he does make an appearance, that shit will be hard. And last, but certainly not least, I'm sure as soon as most of you saw the title of this video, you already knew how this video would end. But obviously, at the #1 spot, I got Mr. Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Red Dead 2 is one of the best video games ever developed. I also don't think it's a stretch to say that Arthur Morgan is one of the greatest characters in all of gaming. I've played many games in my life, but never, ever has a character made me feel what Arthur did. When that man got sick, motherfucker, I felt sick. When I watched the game start to fall apart and I watched Dutch switch up on him and I watched him allow Micah to come in and be a damn rat, I actually got pissed off mad. And his death scene was sad as hell, don't get me wrong, but the scene that stuck with me was his final ride. As soon as that song, That's the Way It Is, came on, it was a waterfall. I cried baby tears. I have never cried watching a movie, reading a book, watching a TV show, none of that. But that part got me crying, bro. I was crying like this was a real person that I was watching. And then what's crazy is that on my second playthrough, I knew everything that was gonna happen and somehow I still damn cried. Now that right there, bro, is some powerful storytelling. The character development that we saw in Arthur from the beginning of the game to the end was impeccable. I'm telling you, the writers deserve a Pulitzer Prize or something, man. Honestly, bro, I could make a whole video about just Arthur. He deserves to be at the top spot of any Rockstar Games list, point blank, period. But all right, y'all, that concludes my list of my top 10 Rockstar protagonists. Y'all comment below some of your favorite Rockstar Games characters, and if you agree with my ranking, holla at me and let me know. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Stay tuned for the next video. Y'all be easy.